And we're back, and Steve is in the suitcase, and Mitt's like, when is it my turn to get in the suitcase? Mitto, yeah, good to have the gang back together and eager to reunite to head out the door for weather and more. And it's complicated. Hi, T-Rex, long time no see. Oh, there's Steve, fluffy tail, and TK back on East Coast. 50 degrees, 10:30 a.m., November 19th. What is this, Tuesday? Maybe on East Coast, but still on West Coast time, going out the door here. Just about the beginning of the lunch hour, and it is not easy, and it's not really that fun today doing the weather at all, because even though there's a lot of interesting weather going on, it's very complicated, and some of it is incredibly dangerous too. How odd that I returned from Southern California, where again it's colder in Southern California this morning, even the single digits in the just north of the Central Valley of California this morning. Well, here in Boston it's about 50 degrees. But who would have thought that I returned from California and I come home to worse fire danger here in Massachusetts than in California. There's smoke on the horizon, can't really see it that well there. Planes incoming from the east. There's a smoke plume coming. I'm not sure if that's that boxford fire or not. And then just off the map here, just out of my view that is, there's a fire burning in the Blue Hills Reservation. And of course, you know, I'm on the board of directors at the Blue Hill Observatory, so always concerned, can I see the smoke from that fire? I don't think so. I think it's just to the left of that Four River plant right there. And so I don't see smoke there, or maybe we do. Nope, those are the nets, believe it or not, at Granite Links. I think those are the nets at the Granite Links golf course. All right, just had to think that out loud. You would have thought I would have thought that a long time ago. So we need rain, and yes, there is rain in the forecast, finally. It all has to do with a very complicated, contorted weather map that this morning we still have that strong Greenland high, and you've got low pressure. Oh wait, breaking news. We got a towboat, a sports boat, and somebody walking in the water over there. Blue water, a reflection of the blue sky, and this boat, I'm guessing the engine failed and it went into those shallows right there. Play-by-play on the weather and whatever I see out the door. Wind is from the north this morning, and yes, it has to do with that high pressure system in Greenland, but it's not cold air here because it's hybrid air. There's the storm, yes, the storm that has DNA from that Colorado, New Mexico blizzard from 2 weeks ago. That is a big occluded storm in the North Atlantic. It's stalled near Newfoundland now for about 3 days, and that storm there draws air from east of Bermuda, almost down to the equator, from east of Bermuda up into the North Atlantic, and then turns it westward into southeastern Canada, and then that air comes south into New England. That's why we are 50 degrees here in the second half of November in the morning in New England. And the wind from that high and that storm stalled out over the ocean is from the north. Now it is marginally just cold enough that the snow guns are going at the top of Superstar this morning. Bravo! Skiing at Killington, but most of the ski areas are really struggling with this extended too warm air mass. Summit of Mount Washington is in the lower 20s, and I call this low barometer cold because it's cold up in the sky, but down at below 4,000 feet, maybe 3,800 feet, it's above freezing, and the base in Pinkham Notch, which is up at 1,600 feet, is in the 40s today, even though the air is coming from the north, from Canada. It's hybrid air, and this is going to be the difficulty, the challenge in forecasting our incoming storm. And there are storms connected. Look at the real big satellite imagery here from the Western Pacific to the Eastern Pacific to North America to the North Atlantic to Europe. It is a real extreme weather map with wintertime setting up in the Arctic and the air trying to come south. and summertime trying to hold on down around Mexico and Florida. And the battle of the air masses is just creating these real intense storms. And the one that's coming at us, not quite as intense as the one that's coming at Washington State. National advisories, watches, and warnings. Red flag, critical fire danger, Massachusetts. Winter storm warning, North Dakota. And high wind warning, just shy of a blizzard in North Dakota today. And there is a blizzard in the Northwest. Storm warning, winter storm warning, and blizzard warning for just up above 2,500 feet in the Cascade Mountains of Washington. So there is a blizzard on the map today. And they're all in a bottleneck contorted shape. I think of that character, do you remember Stretch Armstrong, that toy that you could just pull and his arms would go 2-3 feet across? Or maybe Gumby, damn it, with Eddie Murphy. This storm in the middle of the nation is being stretched into pieces by a cold trough digging in between the two storms in Washington and North Dakota, and the blocking in the Atlantic Ocean, and it's really stretching out this storm. And I think you can see what I mean when I show you this map for tomorrow. You have low pressure decaying over the Great Lakes, and then an occluded front coming across with new lows forming up and down the Appalachians all the way into the Gulf of Mexico. A lot of moving parts here, and it does almost look like the triple stream. I always say the triple stream is the worst for our big storms, but what may be a triple stream, Arctic, polar, subtropical, today is going to turn into just a double stream, polar and subtropical, coming into New England Wednesday night, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So let's put this into motion now. I'm going to go to the Euro. I'm going to have to stop it a couple of times if I can remember all my numbers that I've memorized. Tried to memorize anyway. So big storm in the upper left and more storms coming into California. I can't really talk about them so much because we have to focus on that storm going into Canada and slowly decaying. And it looks like, oh, what? There's nothing going on. Tomorrow, not much going on, but then tomorrow night, now you have that system that has some remnant from Sarah coming out of the Gulf of Mexico. And we stop it now on Thursday morning at 7 a.m. The low that was north of North Dakota has decayed, and we have a new low forming. And look how far west it is compared to where it was supposed to be a couple of days ago, sorry. A 992 low in Michigan, and that's stronger than the 993 low that is forming somewhere near New Jersey. And note the isobars, wind and rain coming into southern New England. That's rain, the green and the yellow, with perhaps maybe even a thunderstorm, and torrential downpours. Yay on the fires. The fires should be really watered down on Thursday morning. And the blue is the snow. Not a lot of snow there, but it's on the south side of this upside down storm because that cold has driven west and south of the storm, and the warm from the North Atlantic is moving in from the east. So only the very tallest mountains. Now, if we had tall mountains taller than, say, 6,000 or 7,000 feet, we'd be talking about a big snowstorm here. But our mountains are more like 2,000 to 4,000 feet, and maybe the very tops of our mountains are getting some snow. And by the way, this is still a real moving target. So let's move it slowly through Thursday, and the low pressure system over Michigan gives way to a stronger low now wobbling in southern New England. This looks a lot like from 48 and 72 hours ago, with green for most of us, maybe a little purple in there at the very tallest mountains, a wintry mix, and the snow is kind of just falling apart. So this is mostly a wet, not a white storm, and then we stop it again at 7 a.m. Friday, and now you have the low pressure system over Connecticut, and all those lines to the north of that low, which is in the 986 range. That's a powerful storm, but it's cut off aloft, and there will be a bagginess in the isobars, so we're not looking at storm force winds. But if I could show it, I could show it. Maybe I'll try and figure out a way, but the air in New England is coming from the North Atlantic Ocean, and that air in the North Atlantic Ocean is coming from east of Bermuda. So we have warmer air wrapping all the way from east of the Bahamas, around Bermuda, north of the storm in Newfoundland, south of the Greenland block, and into New England.
trying to give reasons why this is not a snowstorm, and the GFS, which so many of my friends in the ski world are hanging on to, or were hanging on to for major snow, is giving way to the Euro, and it's still going to be a play-by-play. This is not a done deal at all. The only thing that is likely is that we're getting enough water to put out the fires, and we're going to get a lot of wind, and I don't think it's going to be quite wind damage, but there's going to be a lot of big waves and maybe scattered power outages, because these 990 and sub lows are really powerful, and we often underestimate. And I call it low barometer cold because it's mostly colder up in the sky than down near the ground. Keep it going right there through Saturday and Sunday, and we have mixed showers. Now it will turn to upslope snows, and the snow guns may come on at the ski areas Saturday and Sunday. And then we get to Monday, and look, we have high pressure, and the southeastern ridge is back. Warmer air coming at us from the south. That evolves into a Bermuda high, and there's a warm front Monday night and Tuesday, and then the front is strung out coast to coast. Now we're getting to Wednesday into Thanksgiving Thursday, and low pressure one after another coming along here, so it looks like it could be a fairly damp and wet week. A damp and cool week is what I meant to say, because it looks like we only briefly get into the warm air. And if I take it out right to day 10 now is Thanksgiving Day at 7 p.m. and it is snowing in New England according to the Euro's guess, which is about a 50-50 guess, but I do think that it is going to end up being a colder solution Wednesday and Thursday. I pointed that out yesterday after the Sunday morning. The guidance on Sunday morning looked like a really cold Thanksgiving. So there's going to be another wet and white system coming at us next Wednesday and Thursday. And I know a lot of people are traveling and all that. Way too early for details. I mean, we're just barely going to get through the play-by-play on this next system, and there's very little time off in between. And these storms in the Pacific Ocean, they're really the ones that are going to make headlines. And across the Pacific Ocean, what a relief to get home last night and go on to X and find out Josh Morganman. Yesterday, all he said in his post was, "I'm alive, details to come." Well, Josh says it was his most ferocious core penetration. That is, he goes into the eye of these extreme storms globally, and it was his worst one in 5 years. And he was very grateful to have survived, and from help from the locals in the Philippines. And then he shared this reunion photo with him and James Reynolds, another chaser. We always talk about these meteorologist chasers. Josh and James are okay in the Philippines, which was hit by 4 typhoons in the last 15 days. So it is global. It's happening across the globe, northern hemisphere, as winter comes in. I'm not sure, I haven't really checked the southern hemisphere, but I think it's really hot in Australia. So I'm guessing that that's the Boxford fire, and Peter Lavasco says it is really tough to breathe in Beverly and Gloucester again. And this is, I think, a little more windy than we thought it was going to be today. And the wind's still gusting 25 to 30. The wind is going to die down a little bit, and then it's going to ramp up from the east, and we're going to have winds of 30 to 40 from the east off the ocean here coming in on Thursday and Friday, and then from the north Saturday and Sunday. So nice to be back, Steve. You coming over? The burning bush leaves hanging on. Burning bush. Yeah, right. We got too many of those going on. And the garden over there, we're plenty far in here. I'm done with the weather for today. I'll show you the garden later. Maybe it's still alive. And it's still alive. And the in-more from yesterday, I didn't do much, just traveled to the airport. Thank you very much, Lily, for taking us to the airport, and for Bob bringing T-Rex back. Bob, brother-in-law Bob, took care of T-Rex while we were away, and he and Baloo had a great time out in the yard yesterday, and then T-Rex was here when we got home last night, and it's so nice to have everyone back together. And normally I would be going skiing at my place at Mount Mansfield in the next 2 days. Usually it opens the Friday before Thanksgiving, but the odds of that happening are pretty much slim and none. And so the Enmore yesterday, just going to the airport and a little time-lapse taking off coast to coast. It was only mild to moderately turbulent, so we flew at 37,000 feet yesterday, kind of over the top of some of those worst winds and turbulence. And the air temperature outside was 50 degrees below zero. It's negative 46 or so Celsius. What temperature are Fahrenheit and Celsius the same? Minus 40. Very good, T-Rex. All right, and more from yesterday. calling the play-by-play on an incoming Stretch Armstrong storm. Remember Stretch Armstrong? Can you be Stretch Armstrong? You know, I make you a Stretch Armstrong. All right, over. Nice melons. I love looking back in time. Flying at one point was considered glamorous. Just about 2:30 as we get up in the air. The sun's gonna be going down, so sitting over a wing, kind of obstructed view seating. It's gonna be dark, so maybe we'll do some snoozing, watching some movies. It was a fun stay. Thanks for having us. See you next homecoming. LAX, everything's being worked on all the time. Alyeska, they're flying through a heck of a storm there in the North Pacific. I guess then I'll probably just end it with this, a couple of time lapses. One of us taking off here from Southern California, where it's pretty close to 70 degrees, and crossing the nation at 34,000 feet over that severe storm in the middle of the country. And then we're gonna have a different jet stream over Boston. It's supposed to be about 150 knots from the northwest as we land. So let's things start flying around in the cabin. Time lapse taking off in California, and the day